Poetry Center, bringing poetry to Paterson since 1980 at Passaic County Community College.
Let's welcome Melinda.
Thank you, Maria, for that compliment. I'll pronounce your name in Spanish. I'm Melinda Palacio, and I'm very honored to be here. This is my first full-length poetry book, and I had a little chapbook, and so this is super exciting for me. And also, the cover of the book has a portrait of me because I went to I went to see Margaret Garcia in Los Angeles. She has she's an artist and had an exhibit called Brushes with Fire. And I thought that sounds like she might have something really cool. But when I went there, she said, "Oh no, I'm going to paint an original portrait of you for your book." And I'll start by reading the title poem, How Fire is a Story Waiting. My grandmother caught the flame in her thick hands, curled fingers made nimble by kaleidoscope embers. Fire burns hot and cold if you know where to touch it, she said. I watched the red glow spit and wiggle as it snaked down the thin timber, a striptease born out of the festive sound of a half-filled matchbox. Through orange windows framed by obsidian eyes, I saw the child she once was, a little girl who raised herself because her mother had a coughing disease. Blood on her mother's handkerchief didn't stop her from dreaming. Maria Victoria was going to be a singer with a deep cinnamon stick voice. She watched novelas in the kitchen while waiting for dough to rise, her body heavy with worry for 2 families and 3 lifetimes. She tucked mariachi dreams under her girdle. Lullabies escaped on mornings warmed by her song falling into gas burners turned on high. The flame on the stove was never the same. It had a bad hangover. Didn't remember the many matches lit when its starter broke down. My grandmother rolled paper into a funnel, stole fire from the pilot to light the stubborn burner on the right. Crimson burned blue on white paper, its folded edges curled black like lace ruffle on a skirt. The finicky flame can't comment on its magic. The thousands of tortillas and pancakes cooked over the years, how I burned myself roasting a hot dog campfire style, how a melted pencil smudged under my sister's eyelid makes her beautiful. My grandmother noticed the time. Almost noon. She needed to make 3 dozen tortillas to feed her family of 13. The show over, she blew the match into a swirl of gray squiggles, snuffed it before it had a chance to burn hot on her finger. Funny how fire is a story waiting. Oh, thank you. We had a conversation earlier asking the question of what are you? And I've been asked that in different settings, and I'm going to read. False River, New Roads, Louisiana. Dip your feet into False River. A man catches catfish. His success reveals gold in his teeth. He tells you he plans on taking you home. Guess what's for dinner, darling? Your nervous laughter imitates the Mardi Gras queen you forgot about, the one who complimented you on your skin. What a healthy glow, golden bronze. She avoided the fisherman's question, asked only with his russet eyes. Are you black, brown, Creole, or what? You smile like a river, false as a faint hug, or a lake curved into a cut-up grin, sporting perfect postcard alligator teeth. Your feet make daisies in the water, wind rustles sugarcane, and centuries of sweet old secrets spare your unworked hands. I spend a lot of time, I divide my time between Santa Barbara and New Orleans. Yes, I'm very lucky, I know. One of the poems that I wrote shortly after Katrina was recently accepted into the anthology based on contemporary lives of the saints, and maybe Marianne Miller's here, I don't know. But I'd like to read the one that's going to be in the anthology. Offering to Saint Roch. Water rises over rooftops, cars, schools, neighborhoods. A town rebuilds. You're still a wreck. Saint Roch cures all. In gratitude, leave your plastered body part. But you want to offer your whole body, not just a finger or a toe. You pray to Saint Roch, ask for his help, receive a divine answer. Floating is better than drinking in the morning. When your FEMA money arrives, you ignore your weathered house. You build a swimming pool instead, as if floating will save you from another hurricane. Thank you. Since it's Poetry Month, is everyone in the room? Are we all poets here, or are there poet? Okay, no. So, in case you're wondering, well, how do the poets do it? This is something that I wrote. So my list poem, a list poem for National Poetry Month. How to make a mediocre poem sing. 1. Vary your cadence. Pair a primeval word with a root like parsnip or potato. 2. Enunciate. Pretend each meter was your very last breath. 3. Ask an age-old question. Why is a raven like a writing desk? 4. Say teacup. Add another P word and a penitent tilt to your head. 5. Throw in Shakespearean characters. Cordelia, Portia, Prospero. Pretend you were the bard himself, making up the names for the very first time. 6. Wear a long white button-down shirt. Leave some of the buttons undone. Make sure your pants and fingers have ink stains. 7. Before lifting the bangs from your eyes again, take a slow sip from your water bottle. Careful to unscrew the top slowly. 8. For an extra memorable performance, entertain them with more than poetry. Sing a song in a foreign language. Quand il me prend dans ses bras. 9. Memorize a line or two. Look into the audience's eyes. Smile. 10. Talk birds, beaks, and plumes. P word again. When your audience of poets coos and ahs, you've done it. Take a bow. And I'm going to read some new ones. Okay. This one was inspired by reading at Beyond Baroque in Venice, and it just turned out that all of the poets read something that had to do with birds. So this is Bird Forgiveness at Beyond Baroque. Forgiveness begins with a bird for Alicia. Her pigeon flies through thin jail bars in Argentina, a skinny symbol of humanity, not big enough for a meal. For Ramon, forgiveness begins with a mockingbird lost in Ramon's 7th floor downtown loft, as if to tell him life in LA is redundant. The second struggle fools the bird as furious bones and wings flutter in Ramon's cupped hands. For Shole, her bird is a beloved niece, the girl gone the way of the thornbird who sings in Farsi, I'm okay, I'm okay. No bird language needed when a suicide of words fails. Her way out, deed done. For me, forgiveness begins with dead birds at my feet. Beautiful bird bodies blur before me. First, a red cardinal's baby bird hush, a soft winter landing. Then a yellow finch plops hard on concrete. I fling bird bodies to the wind and trash. I was supposed to save their feathers, shield their tender corpses from the calico cat, bury them for safekeeping. I was supposed to do more. Forgive me, birds. Okay, well, I'll end with another bird poem. Oh, sort of, yeah. This. Of cork and feathers. She named her home the birdhouse, but kept no caged birds. The motif of cork and feathers meant more than flying away, flitting from city to city, taking up residence in warmer climates. Gone one day, like the whistlers who ran their last race at Audubon Park. They flew in a wide circle, 3 times a blur around the same circumference. One lucky drake left the flock, landed on a brown female, pinned her like a cat, set her neck in place with its bill. How cliché of a spring day as he thrashed and flailed on top of her. His orange feet disappeared beneath her feathers as he flapped, bumped, and bopped. Blue sprayed the whirl of his wings. Back at the birdhouse, she says goodbye to winter, welcomes spring like a duck cracking its head through soft shell, newly born, emerging in light. She sheds her nimbus, steps into her own mortality in the only motion left for her, forward. Guided by her clock as daylight plays a longer song, and like the ducks, is cautious of clicks and fast movements. Fear forces her to sprint, to fly. Only her wings are as useless as a roadrunner's. She takes the street like a gray squirrel who scurries across the road seconds before 4 wheels and an engine roar past her slow wit. Thank you.
And our last finalist today is Aaron Smith, and Aaron is a finalist in 2013 Paterson Poetry Book Prize for his book Appetite from the University of Pittsburgh Press. He's also author of Blue on Blue Ground, winner of the Agnes Lynch Starrett Poetry Prize and the chapbook Men in Groups. His work has appeared in a number of literary magazines, including Plowshares and Prairie Schooner. He taught English at West Virginia Wesleyan College, and he is now a professor at Lesley University in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And I want to say about Aaron that I heard him read, I think it was 6 years ago in Chicago. I actually I'm not sure, I think it was in Chicago, and he practically blew the top of my head off. He was so wonderful. I mean, there were wonderful people reading with you, but when you got up, you just lit that room on fire. So let's welcome Aaron Smith. Now you have to live up to that.
I don't have any bangs to flip out of my face. As Melinda was saying, I was at a reading and I'm thinking it may be the same poet. And
It's probably the same poet.
it took her,
to stop doing that.
one poet, it took like 5 minutes. I'm like, just put your scarf down and get going. You know, she was circling and I'm like, you're not Bono, you know, just read. So I am delighted to be here. When you start out in our poetry world, the Paterson Poetry Prize is a prize you find out about very early, and you always know that the books that are finalists for it are going to be terrific. I'm not trying to brag about my own book, but you know that they're books you want to check out. So I'm really honored to have my book as a finalist, and I've really enjoyed the reading, and I love Maria, what she does here, and her staff's been wonderful. And Smita, I want to give a special thank you to. She's been so patient with me not being able to get stuff in on time. I moved this year, so I'm just behind in life. I have friends who aren't talking to me because I don't communicate enough, and that's fine. My life got simpler when they stopped talking to me. So this poem's called Safe. We weren't supposed to touch the guns lined up under our parents' bed. Rifles for hunting, pistols for protecting our home. The carpet was burning lava. We dangle our feet, the barrels mysterious beneath us. Headstands on the floor, inches from accident, from sadness, and always we knew not to tell. Nobody home, I lay my body the length of the bed, all the barrels facing out. I pressed my back against their silent ends, metal tips poking neck and spine, a firing squad, a stick-up. Sometimes I'd face them, a microphone, or love their tiny lips, tongue deep between my teeth, practicing the first kiss the way my sister used her fist. Thank you. Men in groups. Men in groups take their shirts off and chase basketballs across city pavement. They say, nice block and good job, man and dude. They're electric, they're sweating. Men in groups find someone to pick on, someone they like or don't like. It doesn't matter, fat or slow or stupid or smart. Hey, retard, hey, faggot. They talk about tits, who's touched them and hasn't, or they don't talk or listen or smile. They touch hands in huddles and pray into helmets, smack asses, good game. Men in groups carry caskets. Men in groups stare at women. They wear backward hats and backward glances, throw rocks and punches, drop bricks off bridges. They flex, same as me is their motto. Men in groups spray paint walls, smash windows. Men in groups hurt women in woods. Men in groups take their shirts off and dance. Men in groups carry guns, are brave, are cowards, are solemn and crazy and lonely. Men in groups hurt men in woods. Men in groups clear sidewalks. Men in groups are locked up. Men in groups stare at men. Men in groups pull their pants down. Men in groups slam their fists down. This is the title poem from the book Appetite. That was the summer I carried a kitchen knife for protection and slammed my car into the truck of a man who stood me up at a bar. What else could I do after so much religion? I got stoned in the bathroom before work, and my roommate spent our rent money on cigarettes and CDs, dance music and AIDS tests and married men, one with a crucifix that dangled in my face when he straddled me, who said, "Show me your dick," while his kids slept on a fold-out couch in the basement. I fantasized every heat, heavy glance into a love story and stole ice cream sandwiches from a convenience store on Murray Avenue. It was Pittsburgh. I was hungry. There's always some, we've been talking about this earlier, there's always some new school of poetry that says you can't do this, that, or the other, and we just keep saying we can't do so many things that all of our current poetry students can't speak. They just write fragments, and that's all they can do. And one of the criticisms I had received, they said if you keep writing about gay content, it will ruin your career. And the word career is always funny for me too, like what's that even mean? You know, I write poems. But so I thought, okay, if it's just the gay content, this should fix it. So this is called What Christians Say During Sex. The hipster Christians are rolling their jeans up, making shorts out of pants, making fashion out of fashion. And I'm watching it all happen in a coffee shop called Ugly Mugs. And I haven't seen a mug since I got here. Paper cups and cookies served on recycled napkins. A disappointingly straight man is talking to another straight man about Christ, about devotion to the Lord, while his wife sits beside them on the couch, staring out the wall-length windows at the street, the trees, the sun drooping in and out of clouds. She smiles because she's proud of him. She smiles because there's nothing to say. He has beautiful arms, the kind that would glisten if he did push-ups with his shirt off or someone nailed him to a cross. I shaved my head last night, he says, and I look at his ears to see if the line is even. I wonder if they talk dirty during sex. Does she say, I need you to fuck me? Does he say, I want to eat your pussy? Or is it a sin to say it like that, even when you're married? I'm looking for someone, he says, to play guitar for my band, someone committed to Christ. I wonder what they smell like after sex. I wonder what Jesus does for them, what they think Christ's face will look like when they get to heaven. It's in Nashville, and there's so many just beautiful, beautiful men and beautiful women, and they're all married at 18, and I have this philosophy, it's because they can't have sex because they all go to mega churches, so they can't have sex, so they get married really quickly. So you see a beautiful young person, you see their beautiful young spouse after them. So this is called Psalm Queer. Mom held the belt in her hand, said she could smack my face over and over and enjoy it. Yes, she really said that. Yes, she loved God that much. Fat ass. The woman in the next cubicle, fat ass. The man on the train, fat ass. The director of the nonprofit where I work, though always dieting, fat ass and a bitch. Me on my fourth cookie, fat ass. My mom in her chair, fat ass. My dad in his chair reclining, fat ass. And my sister, though she'll never forgive me. Jeremy, Annie, Brian, Lois, Chip, Jan, Nancy, David Groff, and David Trinidad, all fat asses. My editor, fat ass. The employees of my publishing company, if I still have one, every single one of them, a fat ass. Louise Glick, Ted Kuzer, Charles Simic, fat ass, fat ass, fat ass. Robert Pinsky, Rita Dove, Billy Collins, fat ass, really, really fat ass. David Lehman, best American fat ass. Jesus fat ass, the devil fat ass, the fat ass Pope in his extra big fat ass robe. The fun thing about that poem is that on the spot sometimes you can add something in. So when Richard got asked to be the inaugural poet, I was really happy for him. But then when I found out he got to be on the platform with Beyonce, I was like, fat ass. So if he doesn't write a poem about that, I'm going to write a poem called Richard Blanco Tells Me in a Dream That He Knew Beyonce Was Lip Syncing. So I'm going to write that if he doesn't write a poem about it. And then he was unforgivable when he got interviewed by Anderson Cooper. Because that's like the most beautiful man. And I'm like, okay, really, really, really fat ass. So Richard Blanco, inaugural fat ass, you know? Yeah, you know. So David Lehman, I hear, keeps that poem on his office door, so I think it's been received decently. And always like, David has a great ass. He has nothing to worry about, is what I say. Here's a new poem. It's called Like Him. I'm almost 40 and just understanding my father doesn't like me. At 13, I quit basketball. The next year, refused to hunt. I knew he was disappointed, but never thought he didn't have to like me to love me. No girls, never learned to drive a stick. Chose the kitchen and mom while he went to the woods with friends who had sons like he wanted. He tried fishing, a rod and reel under the tree one Christmas. Years I tried talking deeper, acting tougher when we were together. Last summer, I went with him to buy a tractor in case he needs help, Mom said. He didn't look at me as he and the sales guy tied the wheels to the trailer, perfect Boy Scout knots. Why do I sometimes wish I could be a man who cares about cars and football, who carries a pocket knife and needs it? It was January when he screamed, "I'm not a student, don't talk down to me." I yelled, "You're not smart enough to be one." I learned to fight like his father, like him, like men. The meanest guy wins. Don't ever apologize. This is called After All These Years, You Know They Were Wrong About the Sadness of Men Who Love Men. It's Palm Springs and you've slipped away from a day of swimming and drinking to lie for a minute with your eyes closed in the other room while the air conditioner moan groans outside the window. Your body chilled from sunburn and untouched for months. Startled from near sleep, you hear a crash of laughter, man laughter, the slapping of bare backs, hands smacking the skin of men drying by the pool or making hamburgers in the kitchen or solving a puzzle on the glass table in twilight. Does anybody need another drink? And laughter. The pizza's here. Can I have a cigarette? Pass the pretzels and your name. Has anyone seen Aaron? You don't say anything, but listen to the man saying your name. Soon someone will be sent to look for you, and you'll pretend to be sleeping. Say you must have dozed off. You'll rejoin the party soon, but need another minute. You want to remember this. You've waited your whole life for them to miss you. There's a writer that I adore. He died in 1990 of AIDS, and his name's Tim Dugos. And David Trinidad just put out his collected work. It's called A Fast Life, and it's a lovely, lovely book. And he has this poem that was one of the first poems that I remember being obsessed with. It was in Best American Poetry 1993, so 20 years ago, and it was called Healing the World from Battery Park. So when I moved to New York City, I worked downtown, and I would have lunch often in Battery Park, and I would sit and I would stare, and I always thought, this is where Tim Dugos wrote this poem, and I always wanted to write my own version. So before I was leaving New York, I started spending a lot of time on the west side. I lived on the east side, but I kind of discovered the West Village as my favorite hangout toward my end of my time living in New York City. And I went out to Christopher Street Pier, and I thought, okay, I'm going to write my Tim Dugos New York poem and see what I can pull off, and it fails in comparison to his, but this is my Christopher Street Pier evening, and I love the view when you can see New Jersey from the other side. When I think of New York, I think of here. Triangles of sailboats, tourists posing against the railing. Now find someone to take one together. The sky over New Jersey is an explosion of color. Slashes of pink all through it. I like when the city's behind me and I'm looking forward at all that space. The Statue of Liberty is a tiny green toy on my left. The Lackawanna Tower stands up in front. To my right, another pier, then more water, and city. Planes circle in and out of Newark, little lights getting bigger as they approach. I make a wish each time one passes over. Everything be okay for everyone. Sometimes I just say, please. I moved here for the same reason all gay men move here, to stop struggling against what our bodies do and with whom, but still I worry all the time. Will my sister get what she wants? Will Joel's cancer come back? Have I made a mistake by living my life alone? Tonight, there are couples dancing under a large white tent to music that sounds like a record player. Someone always on the edge, waiting for their turn. If I died right now, could I say I've been happy, though not very long or completely or in any way I can explain? I could say, yeah, I think I've been happy. Thank you very much.
Let's give another round of applause to these wonderful poets. You know, when I hear a reading like this, it reminds me something, that poetry is so amazing. And if only we could give it so that people would know how amazing it is and how much it teaches us about what it means to be human and what it means to be alive. It just seems to me that this kind of reading always reinforces that idea. Anyway, thank you guys. You were wonderful.